All right, what's up, YouTube? I'm just coming off my first tactical games competition. We finished up yesterday. It was an amazing event, and it was a really good stress test for my gear and the way that I have my rifle set up and also my pistol. So everything really got put to the fire, and there are some changes that need to be made moving forward, and that's the point of this video. I want to talk to you guys about the rifle that I used, what I'm going to change, the pistol that I used, what I'm going to change about that, so that hopefully we can go back later this summer and shave some time off and do a little better. I placed 8th in my division this time, and definitely a ton of room for improvement. And that's going to start with changing these setups on both these firearms right here. We'll start with the rifle first because that's where I had most of the changes need to be made. First of all, this is just an old rifle I've had for probably 10 years, made by a company called Head Down, and it's a great shooting rifle. It's accurate. It's all around. It functions well. It's a well-built rifle. But starting off at the very front, this big quad rail handguard right here has got to go, all right? It just did not work for the sake of the tactical games. We did a lot of shooting from a barricaded position and shooting through small, awkward shapes that were cut into a plywood wall. And this big handguard right here, it just did not allow me to penetrate through those different shapes in order to pin my rifle up against that barricade and take good shots, all right? So definitely this handguard's going. It's going to be replaced with a much smaller diameter, probably M-lock system handguard. And another thing that I'm going to do up here on the handguard is I'm going to put a barricade stop on the bottom, obviously down here on the bottom of the handguard. That way when we are shooting from a barricaded position or shooting from one of the tank traps, which is an implement that's featured heavily at the tactical games, I can really get in there and put pressure against that barricade in order to have a nice stable shooting position. So I have one of those ordered. So handguard's going. It's too fat. Another thing about this, it's hard for me to wrap my hand all the way around this big quad rail and also grab onto whatever the barricade is in order to pin the rifle to the barricade and take accurate shots. So that's old school stuff right there, and it just did not do, it did what I mean, it did okay, but it needs to be improved. Back from that, this Optic, man, this Optic really shined, all right? At the tactical games, we're taking shots anywhere from, with the rifle, anywhere from 25 yards to 600 yards, okay? And this Optic, this is the Razor HD Gen 3, 1 to 10 powered, LPVO from Vortex, and the reticle is a EBR9 BDC reticle, all right? So this thing is zeroed at 50 yards, and it has the holdovers built into the reticle all the way out to 600. Zeroed at 50, I was holding point of aim, point of impact with the 600-yard holdover built into the reticle, and I was nailing targets at 600 yards with this thing. So, and then having also that ability to go all the way up to 10 power, nothing at all would I change about this Optic. It was awesome. The only thing I would change is what I have attached to the Optic, and it's this daggone throw lever right here. This is all fine and dandy, you know, you guys, a lot of you guys probably have this on your rifle. But when you go to beating this gun around and you're picking it up and putting it down and you're moving and shooting, everything hangs on this dang throw lever, all right? So you go up and you start your stage, and let's say you're shooting a target at 50 yards, and you go ahead and dial into, let's say, 4 power. Well, you shoot your first course of fire and you go do some moving around, and this happened to me multiple times. I get back up on the line to shoot my next course of fire, and this thing's cranked all the way up to 10 power because just this thing is just too obtrusive. So this big throw lever right here is coming off. All right, it gives you some advantage, obviously, in adjusting the power of the scope, but it just doesn't function in terms of shooting and moving and really putting this system under a stress test. All right, no good. That's coming off. Moving back, I really loved the grip. The grip worked great. It's a Wilson Combat grip. The trigger in here, this is a Timony trigger. I forget which one it is. I'll attach it in the description down below. Trigger was great. It's about a 1.5 pound trigger pull. Had no issues with it. It was solid the whole time. It was nice to have that. If you guys see moving back here, I have this sling attachment point right here. This thing right here is coming off too, all right? The problem with this sling attachment is it kept hitting my knuckle when I would manipulate my safety. So you guys see I have a big cut there on my knuckle. This is great. You know, this is old, man. I put this on here, no telling when, 10 years ago. And it's made for so you can move to a single point sling, you know, doing CQB or something like that. But this big thing coming off right here on the right side was just tearing my knuckle up when I would manipulate that safety. So that's coming off for sure. Charging handle worked great. I think this is just a Daniel Defense charging handle. I stole it off of one of my other rifles. It was great to have that extra grip or that extra bit of lever on that charging handle versus a regular standard charging handle, because during the tactical games your grip does get fatigued. So it's nice to have something that you can really hook your finger onto, so you're not having to pinch down on this thing to manipulate the charging handle with super fatigued grip. The buttstock, I am going to go with a fixed buttstock on this instead of the adjustable buttstock. I think Magpul makes one, I think it's a PRS Lite. It's a fixed buttstock. It has a nice adjustable comb on it, and it also has some adjustment back here on the rubber pad on the back so that you can adjust the length of it. Shooting at the tactical games, 90% of the shooting is, I would say, considered precision shooting. You're shooting at very small targets, at times at substantial distances. So I'm going to go with that precision buttstock so that I can get a better cheek weld on the gun, and so that I can also build in a good solid touch point, so that I know I'm going to set up for my sight picture and my eye relief on my scope properly. When you start maneuvering with this rifle, especially when you're shooting from really weird positions and you know, you're shooting from awkward positions, I found at times it was hard for me to get my eye relief right with the scope. And I would kind of have to fish around on the buttstock to get set up so that I could see through the scope and take my shots. So I'm going to try to fix that with putting a precision buttstock on there so that I can get a better cheek weld and have a good solid touch point, so that in those awkward positions I know I can consistently get my cheek and my eye in the right spot, and that's going to speed me up substantially. The sling worked well. This is a sling from GBRS. It was great, man. If you guys can see, I have this sling basically attached to the buttstock and then also looped through the handguard there. So I did not use QD attachments on this sling. I intentionally hard pointed it to the gun because there is so much movement in the tactical games. I didn't want to be in a position where I accidentally released one of those QD attachments and lost my sling. So I hard pointed it to the gun, and that's the way I'll continue to run the sling. I'm not going to trust that QD attachment when I'm running miles with the weapon slung. I'm climbing ropes. I'm going over barriers. In my opinion, it needs to be hard pointed to the gun. It worked perfectly. It's just a dual point sling setup. This sling has a lot of adjustability built into it. So that was awesome. So what I'm going to change, a smaller handguard, probably a M-LOK handguard. Again, I'm taking this throw lever off of this Vortex Razor 1x10 scope. And I'm going to go with a precision buttstock that's hopefully going to help me get a more consistent cheek weld shooting from those awkward positions, all right? It's easy to get everything lined up when it's perfect and the sun's out and you're shooting static on the range. When it gets crazy out there, you really got to have some good touch points built in to be able to get on target and see through that scope and get a good sight picture. All right? So that's what I'm changing about the rifle. The pistol. You guys know I have really enjoyed this pistol. This is a Dan Wesson DWX. The optic on here is a Trijicon SRO with a 2.5 MOA dot. All right? So it's the smaller dot. And this pistol, for me, is it, man. I have zero complaints about this DWX. I ran it all weekend. During the weekend, we had everything from rain to 30, 40 mile per hour wind that was blowing sand into all of our gear, to sunshine. So the weather changed a lot. I never cleaned this weapon, never disassembled it, never wiped it down, and it functioned absolutely flawlessly. I didn't have a single malfunction with either weapon system, but especially with the pistol, it was surprising to me, all the shooting that we did, and also the sand and the grit and the water and everything that it was exposed to, that it functioned flawlessly, not a single malfunction. I love everything about this pistol, from the grip to the trigger to the reliability. This is it for me, man. I don't plan to change this at all. So in terms of the two guns, most of the stuff I'm going to adjust is on the rifle. Pistol staying the same. The best part about the rifle, again, was the optic. Hands down, it shined in all environments. And so that's where I'm going in terms of guns, the changes I'm going to make moving forward from here into the next competition at the Tactical Games this summer. I'll do another video for you guys talking about kit, all right? As far as gun belt, mag pouches, plate carrier, all that good stuff, because there are some changes there that also need to be made. That was my favorite part about the games was the people. And my second favorite part was really getting to put the gear to the ultimate test in terms of competition, just to see what worked and what didn't work. It was an awesome proof of concept. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, I'll do another one on kit, and then I'll do another one also on training, what we're going to change in terms of training moving forward. This is, I think, something that I'm going to pursue for the next couple years. I had that much fun. I enjoyed it that much. So I hope you guys are doing awesome, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks for watching. Enough said.